So you're saying that government would somehow be wither away a little bit, or you know?
I wouldn't use that. I'd say it would transform into something that's basically a real system. And it's hard to talk about this because if you don't study systems engineering, since in nature, everyone's familiar with fractal geometry and self-similarity and stuff like that, and like the vortex of the Milky Way galaxy is so similar, obviously, to the vortexes we create in a hurricane or the water going down your toilet. It's that entropic recursion, they call it. Recursion meaning it's self-similar. Recursive property is like you marry someone, have children, they marry someone, have children. It's the dolls and dolls and dolls and dolls phenomenon. It's self-similarity, and it's basically a complicated notion of self-reference. And nature does this, that's its fundamental organizing pattern. That's a big conversation. It's really a mathematical conversation. But if you look at the rise of simplicity to complexity, it's done through this process at multiple levels of recursion. And if we recognize that, just like we recognize the law of gravity, we see that there are actually system organizations, system patterns, like in the human body, that reveal the way our society should be organized, that reveal the viable system, as people like Stafford Beard called it. He studied the human body and he established an entire model, and he applied it actually in multiple instances with great success, emulating this kind of biomimicry, emulating what nature is doing. And so what is nature doing in our nervous system? It's communicating in different ways as semi-autonomous organs, and it communicates in an environment, and all of that put together creates you. And that's another fundamental phenomenon of systems. It's worth pointing out that you can't reduce systems to a sum of their parts, because parts don't have properties the system produces. And that's a profound thing to think about, which of course completely negates almost the whole of the way we would deduce and we reason and categorize. We see things as separate, a tree and a glass, when it's really a system property in something that's larger. So our whole process of thought and reductionism is thrown out the window with this type of comprehension. So I had to throw that in there. But so you take that kind of model, and it's out there, it's been experimented. It's actually the entire basis of computers, ultimately. They have these feedback systems. They're kinds of organisms. And you premise the whole of organization of society upon that. And if you do that in concert with sustainability principles, the laws of nature that all of those 5 things we've just talked about reflect, that we're getting in harmony, we're forming homeostasis. A true viable system, like your body, has homeostasis. It self-corrects, corrects your blood pressure, it corrects when you have a temperature.
It still eventually croaks.
It does, but nothing like. But it gets absorbed by other systems, so it gets absorbed into the planetary system, and it continues that recursion process. So within that is the answer to how we organize our society in the future. It will be done through technological means. It won't be done through electing representatives or the old notions of democracy. If you're in line with nature truly, the democratic ideal doesn't have half the gravity that we think it does now, because no one's in war with each other anymore. Different conflicts can be expressed in different ways with different forms of resolution that don't require this type of overarching legal system. I say this in a very optimistic way. I think if the things I just talked about in the book were put in motion, the 5 things, you'd have a very reduced sense of government, a very reduced number of laws, because none of that stuff is being agitated anymore. And if you apply a cybernetic system where you attach all industries on the planet, localization, you have open source, you have people building and designing and creating economic progress together. You have an abundance generating mechanism through ephemeralization and more with less, as we talked about. If all of that is set in motion, the system will equal out. And that is the government. Basically, government becomes the economic engagement, because that's really what government does. That's what it represents. Government is about dealing with things that the economy doesn't do right. In the end, that's really what it does.